Hello and welcome to another episode of Codo Cinema, the podcast show where I talk about movies. I'm your host, the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Codo, aka Codo Man. Well, since we are at the end of March, there's one thing that we need to know that is coming up in April. So what's coming up in April in terms of movies? Well, how about the 93rd Academy Award? How about the 93rd Academy Awards? Yes, you guys are probably all wondering what was going on with the Oscars this year. Well, obviously the COVID-19 pandemic on cinema is the huge impact that is going on. So technically the Oscars are going to be a little different this year, or should I say the 93rd Academy Awards. So the 93rd Academy Awards ceremony is going to be presented by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, as always, which will always and will honor the best films released between January 1st of 2020 and February 28th, 2021. So now that is scheduled to take place in Los Angeles at both the Dolby Theater and Union Station on April 25th, 2021, which is this year. So yes, the Oscars for this year is scheduled for April 25th, 2021. So basically, that was actually originally planned 2 months. Well, actually, no. I take that back. I mean, it was supposed to be planned a little differently, but due to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on cinema, it's definitely different. So the nominations were announced on February 15th, 2021. Now I was gonna do an episode on this a couple weeks back, but there were a couple of other films, particularly from the Justice League Snyder Cut, that really overshadowed my chance to write up an episode for the 93rd Academy Awards. But today today's episode, I am making up for it. I am making it up for it. So anyway, the nominees for the 93rd Academy Awards were announced on March 15th, 2021, as I mentioned, in a global live stream on the official website by Priyanka Chopra Jonas and Nick Jonas. And for the record, by the way, people, forgive me for mispronouncing the names. I promise myself that I do better. I know I say this a lot, but sometimes some mispronunciations can be something that does happen to me a lot. And I'm a big stutterer, and I do stutter a lot. That's basically normal on my part. So forgive me on this, by the way. Okay, so as much as I want to start off with the actors and actresses, I might as well start off with... I'm going to start off with Best Actor. So anyway, the nomination for Best Actor in a lead role is Riz Ahmed for Sound of Metal, Chadwick Boseman for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Anthony Hopkins for The Father, Gary Oldman for Mank, and Steven Yeun for Minari. So yes, that is the nominees for Best Actor. And it looks like Chadwick Boseman is posthumously nominated. Yes. And Ma Rainey's Black Bottom was the last film for Chadwick Boseman to appear in. So I got a feeling this is probably a very well deserved nomination. But who's gonna win that award? I mean, it's definitely a tough competition. It's definitely a tough competition to say, especially when going up against heavyweight giants like Anthony Hopkins and Gary Oldman. So it is definitely hard to tell, but you never know. And I thought the posthumous nomination for Chadwick Boseman, I think that is a very, very good decision for it. Okay, so moving on to Best Actress. The nominations for Best Actress are Viola Davis for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Andra Day for The United States versus Billie Holiday, Vanessa Kirby for Pieces of a Woman, Frances McDormand for Nomadland, and Carey Mulligan for Promising Young Woman. So it looks like Frances McDormand has been nominated again. And for the record, Frances McDormand also won a couple of Oscars in the past. I think one of them was for Fargo. One of them was for Fargo, and then there was another film where she also won her second Oscar, and I can't remember. I can't remember which film it was, but I think it was. It was a film in 2017. What I think it was Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Was it Three Billboards? Yes, it was Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. That was her second Oscar win, and she was nominated for seven. She's nominated for 7 Oscars, so she's also nominated for Best Picture. So it looks like she's nominated for a producing role as well. So it looks like she's got 2 Oscar nominations for this year. So good for her. I mean, Viola Davis got a nomination as well. Same with Vanessa Kirby. But it looks like it's gonna be a tough competition. So it's gonna be a tough competition, especially in the acting role too. So now it's time to move on for Best Supporting Actor. The nominations for Best Supporting Actor is Sacha Baron Cohen for The Trial of the Chicago 7, Daniel Kaluuya for Judas and the Black Messiah, Leslie Odom Jr. for One Night in Miami, Paul Raci for Sound of Metal, and Lakeith Stanfield for Judas and the Black Messiah. So it looks like Judas and the Black Messiah has been nominated twice for Best Supporting Actor, but actually for 2 different actors, Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield are nominated for Best Supporting Actor in the same film for the Best Supporting Actor category, and for both Danielle and Lakeith, that they are both in Judas and the Black Messiah. So it looks like both of these guys have a really tough competition. Sacha Baron Cohen for The Trial of Chicago 7. You also may remember him for the Borat film that also came out that same year. And I think that one has also got a couple of nominations as well. So yeah, it could be, but as I mentioned, huge competition. I'm actually surprised that Leslie Odom Jr.'s got a nomination. I mean, he's also nominated again too for the Oscars as well. So it looks like we got some amazing competition ahead of us. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I'm going to go off topic. I don't know who's going to win because these are some of the films, and I forgot to mention this earlier, by the way. Some of these films I have yet to see, although I have seen some or parts of the films. These are some of the films that I have yet to see because of the whole pandemic situation. Normally, there were a few other films that were supposed to come out this year, like mini films from like Black Widow, Fast and Furious 9, the Minions sequel, and I'm pretty sure there's a few other films I'll probably be missing, so my apologies. Yeah, there's definitely a few films that I have yet to see because most of these films that I'm listing out on this list, most of them are from streaming services. And here's the thing, I gotta applaud the streaming services for releasing these films. I know it's tough when the theaters are closed. It's a very tough time, and I really understand that. But for the streaming services, I gotta give them credit for releasing these films through streaming services. Okay, so now I'm gonna move on to Best Supporting Actress. So the nominees for Best Supporting Actress are Maria Bakalova for Borat's subsequent movie film, Glenn Close for Hillbilly Elegy. Or Elegy, I mean. My apologies. Glenn Close for Hillbilly Elegy. Olivia Colman for The Father. Amanda Seyfried for Mank. And Yeon Yu-jung for Minari. And now we're moving forward to Best Original Screenplay. The nominees for Best Original Screenplay are Judas and the Black Messiah, Minari, Promising Young Woman, Well, actually, let me start over. I'm gonna list out the names of the people who were nominated for best screenplay. All right, so going back to Judas and the Black Messiah, the screenplay was written by Will Burson and Shaka King, story by Burson, King, Keith, and Kenny Lucas. Minari was written by Lee Isaac Chung. Promising Young Woman, Emerald Fennell. Sound of Meadow, screenplay by Abraham and Darius Marder, story by Derek Cianfrance and D. Marder. The Trial of the Chicago 7, Aaron Sorkin. The nominees for Best Adapted Screenplay are Borat, subsequent movie film, screenplay by Sacha Baron Cohen, Peter Bainham, Jenna Friedman, Anthony Hines, Lee Kern, Dan Mazer, Eric Rivonaja, and Dan Swimmer. Story by Baron Cohen, Hines, Nina, Pedrat, and Swimmer. Based on a character by Baron Cohen. Forgive me on my mispronunciation, folks. My apologies. And next film is The Father, written by Christopher Hampton and Florian Zeller, based on the play by Zeller. For Nomadland, Chloe Zhao, based on the book by Jessica Brother. One Night in Miami, Kemp Powers, based on his play of the same name. And The White Tiger by Ramin Barani, based on a novel by Aravind Adiga. So now the nominations for Best Animated Feature Film. Onward by Corey Ray and Dan Scanlon. Over the Moon, Pelian Chow, Glenn Keanu, and Jeannie Rin. A Shaun the Sheep movie, Farmageddon, by Will Becker, Paul Cooley, and Richard Fenlon. For Soul, Pete Docter and Dana Murray. Wolfwalkers, Tom Moore, Stephen Rolantis, and Ross Stewart and Paul Young. Okay, I'm gonna pause myself for a little bit. It looks Onward and Soul are one or two of Pixar's films that came out the same year prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, and it looks like it's definitely going to be a huge competition for Onward and Soul. However, Shaun the Sheep the movie, Wolfwalkers, and Over the Moon are also nominated in that category too. So it's definitely going to be hard to say who's going to win. So yeah. So the nominations for Best International Feature Film are Another Round from Denmark in Danish, directed by Thomas Vinterberg. Better Days, Hong Kong in Mandarin, directed by Derek Sang. Collective, Romania and Romanian, directed by Alexander Nano. The Man Who Sold His Skin to Tunisia in Arabic, directed by Kauthar Ben Hania. Quo Vadis Adi Aida, Bosnia and Bosnian, directed by Jasmila Zabanak. So forgive my mispronunciation, folks. So the next category is Best Documentary Feature. Collective, Alexander Nano and Bianca Oana. For Crip Camp, Sarah Boulder, Jim Lebrecht, and Nicole Newnham. The Mole Agent, Matty Aberdy and Marcella Santibanez. My Octopus Teacher, Pippa Enrlich, Craig Foster, and James Reed. For Time, Garrett Bradley, Lauren Domino, and Kellen Quinn. Next category, Best Documentary Short Subject. For Colette, Alice Doyard and Anthony Giacchino. A Concerto is a Conversation, Chris Bowers and Ben Proudfoot. Do Not Split, Charlotte Cook and Anders Hammer. Hunger Ward, Sky Fitzgerald and Michael Schurman. A Love Song for Latasha, Sophia, 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 Sophia For Best Live Action Short Film, Feeling Through by Doug Rowland and Suzanne Rusnetsky. The Letter Room, Elvira Lind and Sophia Sondervan. The Present by Asama Bawardi and Farah Nabusi. Two Distant Strangers, Travin Free and Martin Desmond Rowe. And for White Eye, Shira Hawkman and Tomer Shushan. The nominations for Best Animated Short Film: Burrow by Michael Cabaret and Madeline Shafian. Janice Loki by Adrian Marijo and Henri Ovis. If Anything Happens, I Love You by Michael Govier and Will McCormick. Opera, Eric O. Yes People, Anar Gurason and Gisli Dari Halderson. Now the nominations for Best Original Score is here are the nominations for Best Original Score: The Five Bloods by Terrence Blanchard, Mank by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. For Minari, Emil Massari. News of the World, James Newton Howard. And Soul, Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross, and Joe Battisti. Now, going off topic, both Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross are both nominated for Best Original Score in Mank and Soul. So it's between the two. We'll see what's going to happen, but it's definitely going to be a tough competition. And speaking of competition, where was Ludwig Göransson's nomination? I mean, I know he was nominated for his score in Tenet. I mean, it's just a question. I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, I think his score in Tenet was pretty good. Just saying. But anyway, moving on. For Best Original Score, Fight for You from Judas and the Black Messiah, music by DeMille and Her, H-E-R, Her, and Tiara Thomas. Hear My Voice from the Trials of Chicago 7, music by Danielle Pemberton, lyrics by Celeste and Pemberton. Hazavik from Eurovision Song Contest, The Story of Fire Saga, music and lyric by Rickard Goransson, Fat Max Zeus, and Savan Kotecha. Low C, Scene from The Life Ahead, music by Diane Warren, lyric by Laura Pausini and Warren. Speak Now from One Night in Miami, music and lyrics by Sam Ashworth and Leslie Odom Jr. The nominations for Best Sound: Greyhound by Bo Borders, Michael Minkler, Warren Shaw, and David Wyman. For Mank, Ren Kleiss, Drew Kunin, Jeremy Mollald, Nathan Nance, and David Parker. News of the World, William Miller, John Pritchett, Mike Prestwood Smith, and Oliver Tarney. For Soul, Koya Elliott, Ren Kleiss, and David Parker. For Sound of Metal, Jamie Baksh, Nicholas Becker, Philip Blad, Carlos Cortez, and Michelle Kutelenk. The nominations for Best Production Design going into the next category: The Father, production design by Peter Francis, set decoration by Kathy Featherstone. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, production design by Mark Ricker, set decoration by Karen O'Hara and Diana Sarton. For Mank, production design by Donald Graham Burt, set decoration by Jan Pascal. News of the World, production design by David Crank, set decoration by Elizabeth Keenan. And for Tenet, production design by Nathan Crawley, set decoration by Kathy Lucas. For Best Cinematography, Judas and the Black Messiah by Sean Bobbitt. Mank for Eric Messerschmidt. News of the World, Darius Walski. Nomadland, Joshua James Richards, and The Trial of the Chicago 7 for Pheidon Papamichael. The nominations for Best Makeup and Hairstyling: Emma, Laura Allen, Maurice Langen, and Claudia Stolz. For Hillbilly Elegy, Patricia Dehaney, Aaron Kruger Makash, and Matthew W. Mungo. For Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Sergio Lopez Rivera, Mia Neal, and Jamaica Wilson. For Mank, Colleen LaBeouf, Kimberly Spiteri, and Gigi Williams. For Pinocchio, Dalia Colley, Mark Collier, and Francesco Pegoriti. And for the record, not to confuse you on the Pinocchio film, that is a different Pinocchio film. This is a different film, not the Disney film, nor the rumored Robert Zemeckis Pinocchio film for the live-action Disney remake. Yes, that is also a thing that is coming out too, but this is a different Pinocchio film. But this time, this is like a different one that just came out recently, so not to confuse you. So the nominations for Best Costume Design: Emma, Alexandra Byrne, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Anne Roth. Mank for Trish Somerville. For Disney's live-action Mulan, Bina Dagler. And Pinocchio, Massimo Catanini Parini. For Best Film Editing: The Father, Yorgos Lamparinos. Nomadland, Chloe Zhao. Promising Young Woman by Frederick Thoraval. Sound of Metal, Michael E.G. Nielsen. And The Trial of the Chicago 7, Alan Baumgarten. And before going into Best Director and Best Picture categories, here are the nominees for Best Visual Effects: Love and Monsters by Genevieve Camilleri, Brian Cox, Matt Everett, and Matt Sloan for Love and Monsters for Best Visual Effects. The Midnight Sky, Matthew Casimir, Chris Lawrence, Max Solomon, and David Watkins. For Mulan, the 2020 Disney live-action film, or reboot, I should say, Sean Andrew Faden, Steve Ingram, Anders Langlands, and Seth Maury. For The One and Only Ivan, Nick Davis, Greg Fisher, Ben Jones, Santiago Colombo Martinez. And for Tenet, Scott R. Fisher, Andrew Jackson, David Lee, and Andrew Lockley. Okay, so these are the categories and nominations for these films. And now, let me go back to Best Director and Best Picture. The nominees for Best Director are Lee Isaac Chung for Minari, Emerald Fennell for Promising Young Woman, David Fincher for Mank, Thomas Vinterberg for Another Round, and Chloe Zhao for Nomadland. And now, here are the nominees for Best Picture: The Father, Philip Carcassonne, John Louis Levy, and David Parfit. Judas and the Black Messiah, Ryan Coogler, Charles D. King, and Shaka King. Mank, Sean Chaffin, Eric Roth, Douglas Urbanski. For Minari, Christina Oh. Nomadland, Bali Asher, Dan Janvi, Francis McDormand, Peter Spears, and Chloe Zhao. For Promising Young Woman, Ben Browning, Emerald Fennell, Ashley Fox, and Josie McNamara. For Sound of Metal, Bert Hamelinik and Sacha Ben Harochi. And for The Trial of the Chicago 7, Stuart M. Besner and Mark Platt. And these are your 93rd Academy Award nominations. That is right, folks. And the most nominations for the 93rd Academy Awards is Mank. Mank is nominated for 10 Academy Awards, or should I say, Oscars. That's right, folks, Oscars. Yep. And somehow The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, Minari, Nomadland, Sound of Metal, and A Trial of Chicago 7 are nominated for 6 Oscars, Academy Awards, I mean. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and Promising Young Woman nominated for 5. News of the World is nominated for 4. One Night in Miami and Soul are nominated for 3 Academy Awards. And another round, Borat, Subsequent Movie Film, Collective, Emma, Hillbilly Elegy, Mulan, Pinocchio, and Tenet are nominated for 2 Academy Awards. So yes, these are your 93rd Academy Award nominations, and the ceremony won't begin until April. So we got about another month ahead. So although it will definitely be different. However, the only difference between that, and in case you guys were wondering about the best sound category I mentioned, well, it's a little different this time because somehow they decided to take out best sound mixing and best sound editing into a single best sound category, reducing the total number of categories to 23. So the sound branch had raised concerns that the 2 categories had too much overlap in scope. Scope, I mean. The rules for Best Original Score now require that a film's score include a minimum of 60% original music, and the film's franchise and sequels must have a minimum of 80% new music. For the first time, preliminary voting, and this is keeping going with the other category. This is going into Best Film International Film Feature, so I'm basically done with the Best Sound category, by the way. Preliminary voting for Best International Feature Film will also be open to all voting members of the Academy. And this was announced in April 28th, 2020. So this was brought up in last year in 2020, by the way. So, yes. So, yes, these are your... So, yes. Oh, by the way, on December 8th, Jesse Collins, Stacey Sher, and Steven Soderbergh were named producers of the ceremony. And Glenn Weiss is slated to direct the ceremony as well. And as with the previous year's ceremony, there will be no host. So yes, there you have it, folks. That is the 93rd Academy Award nominations. The ceremony itself is on April 25th, 2021, and it looks like it's going to be aired on the ABC network. So, yep, there you have it, folks. Forgive me on my mispronunciations. I know it's a lot to handle, especially with a person who tends to stutter a lot, and that's pretty much normal on my part. But it's a lot to say. Especially when announcing these nominations for those who accomplished something big in their lives, particularly in the film and TV industry. And I applaud to all the filmmakers and film crew and actors for their hard work and dedication to bringing these films to life, especially during these hard times during the pandemic. And say what you will about some of these films. I know some of them can be controversial. Some of them were definitely controversial or had behind the scenes troubles in and out of the film. But I do as much as I meant to say, some of these films may have trouble productions, but there was definitely a lot of dedication, and I know a lot of people are definitely going to say some of these films don't deserve the win despite of it, but I mean, what can I do about it? There's nothing that much I can do, but sometimes since I'm announcing these films because I want to talk about the 93rd Academy Award nominations, because I really do want to talk about it because the Oscars are coming up, and I know award ceremonies have been kind of going downhill a bit, which, to be fair, it's obvious why. My bad. It's pretty obvious. So anyway, thank you for tuning in to Codo Cinema. By the way, if I'm missing out on anything from the nominations or anybody else that I forgot to mention, please let me know. Please let me know, and I promise myself to do better. So anyway, thank you for tuning in to Codo Cinema. I'm your host, Mark Codo. Remember to watch movies and stay positive.